Now, Madge, I've been a big fan. I still am.
Same.
Talked him up all last year, pushed back on Buzz and the spew buckets and all that. But does Madge have to change his ways? And does he have the ability to do that?
Well, right, if you're Madge, right, and you sit there and you've gone, I won a Cop in Wigan, I won a Cop at South, I won a Test Series for New Zealand, I've won an Origin Shield, and I've won another Premiership. Yeah. Why are you changing? Because in Madge's mind, you're sitting there going, no, I don't need to change because it works. Yeah. Everyone else around me may need to change, right? But it does wear thin. It does wear thin. His coaching style, he's a really good person, Madge, right? But his ability to wear players down, I think it's always ingrained in him, right? He's softer than what he was at South, no doubt, right? But that edge will always be there, and I don't think he's capable of changing it fundamentally from the way he is. And
that's a fair point. Looking at his past record, right? I think as a modern day great coach, you've got to be versatile and you've got to be able to change your ways. And you see all the coaches that are around the longest and have the longevity and success are normally the guys that are they're man managers, right? And generations change. We know that it's all different now than it was when I played, and even when you started working as a journo, right? So I actually think that he just needs to be subtle with his changes. I look at someone like Brian Smith who coached me. He didn't change. He couldn't change.
Yeah.
How many grand finals did he get to and he couldn't win? Yeah. And it was just like, what is it? And I actually rate Brian as one of the best coaches, if not the best, strategy-wise or strategist, or in terms of rugby league DNA. He was incredible, but he had parts that, as a captain playing underneath him, and his relationship with the players, I'd go to him and say, mate, you got to stop doing this, or I think you should handle this player different to that player. And unfortunately, Brian Smith couldn't change that.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was his undoing, right? Yeah. So if I'm looking at Madge, I'm thinking Madge, players like Payne, but we don't know how he coaches either. We're not inside the four walls, but I'm assuming you got to look after your leaders. You got to look after the guys that rep players that have got a lot of kilometres in their legs throughout a season. You've got to treat some players different to others. You can flog your young blokes because that's what's a part of coming through the grades, and you've got to earn your right to play first grade. But I think at some point, for Madge's benefit, he may need to change. And I'm not putting this on Madge that Payne's leaving. Yeah. But we do hear a lot, you and I, and everyone else about it, and it's not a coincidence. It's not
because of the way Payne's left as well.
That's right.
If it was a $1.8 million deal from South and you go, they've been gazumped, you can understand. But for mine, with Madge, Braith, I honestly feel like he'll be the first coach to win 3 comps at 3 different clubs.
Really?
He's the bloke that if I'm at a club and I think my team's 90% there, he's the guy to get you that 10%. If I'm a bottom 4 club, I'm not going near him. Right? Because he's a premiership window coach. He's proven that he's a guy that can come in, do a job. For mine, he's a gun for hire. Right? So Brisbane have a very, which is it's crazy to think. The bloke just won a comp last year. If I'm Brisbane, I may not re-sign him.
Okay, he's got 2 more years. Yeah. And that's a long time. That's a long time in our game, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen this year. But you think there's a huge... Do you re-sign him?
I probably... I wouldn't yet.
But what if he wins again this year?
I'd say thank you.
Really?
Yeah,
I would. He's going back to back.
And they can go back to back, right? I generally think they can go back to back.
How do you sack a coach that goes back to back?
It's crazy. It is absolutely...
Maybe he has changed his ways, though. Maybe this year he changes his ways.
I just don't think he can. I just don't think he can. And I think Michael Maguire is an elite coach. He's different to Craig. He's different to Wayne. I don't think it's Trent Robinson either. He's not a guy that can do 10 years at a club. Yeah. I just don't think he's that sort of coach. But
okay, well, I can tell you one thing. If they go back to back, he's not getting sacked.
Of course. Who would sack him?
They'll re-sign him.
They will.
So they will.
Wouldn't
that be a story?
And I know I agree. It sounds absurd. It sounds even the fact that he's won one comp and not to re-sign him, let alone going back to back. But there would be part of me that if I'm the Brisbane Broncos, I'm going, and if I'm another club, I'm looking at him going, let's get that guy in. He's at 10% that we need to get the job done.
What's another club?
When you sit down,
I mean, like right now, we'll move on from this.
Yeah.
A club right now that he could go in and win a comp for. If you give us an example.
North Queensland?
Cowboys. With the squad they got, you thinking the right coach.
North
like
Queensland.
for what they need, that intensity to
just go that
get
extra,
the job done quick.
Just go that extra level.